Hey everyone, it's me, sfreezy, a human being, not a disembodied voice, as I like to believe. Recently, at my friend's bachelor party, some of the guys mentioned they played Commander, so me, being a schmuck, I didn't want to clog the group chat with Rule Zero conversations, and so I just assumed they were not huge into Magic, and boy was I wrong. You know what they say about assuming? You make an ass out of you and me. So they were bringing Proxied to the nines, 4.5 decks, a step below CEDH. The only thing they were missing was Infinites and MLD. But aside from that, no holds barred. We're talking Mana Drain, Fast Mana, Force of Will, Gaia's Cradle, all that stuff, all Proxy. And I'm not opposed to Proxies. And let me tell you, they kick my ass. So when it came time to actually play in between the beach volleyball and binge drinking, Myrtle Beach is great, by the way. My decks could compete, but it became clear that it's important to set expectations. But that's not why I wanted to have this video. I want to discuss the concept of proxies and just how important they are in a world of rising Magic prices and IP you don't necessarily want to invest in.
We are going to explore a whole slew of things to keep you, the viewer, informed on your financial decisions pertaining to Magic the Gathering.
Until this pod, I had not really played CEDH Lite, as we'll call this kind of bracket. My playgroup generally doesn't like these kind of decks, so we often don't play at the power level or that price level. I do splurge on more kinds of cards, and I really want to finely tune my decks, but it's not the same as just having these powerful cards that are game changers for a reason. I'm usually, even in my bracket 4 decks, not putting more than like 4 or 5 game changers, and it's very different when a deck is full of reserve list cards and like 20 game changers in one deck versus a deck that has 3. And even amongst bracket 4, there's a wide variance of decks. Like some decks are bracket 4 because they have exactly 4 game changers, which is more than 3, ergo bracket 4. And again, like the power level discrepancy wasn't really my issue. I had no issue with the game we played. My issue was myself and my deck costing more than their deck. A full commander deck could cost like X $100, right? Whereas a proxy commander deck costs $75. No matter what cards are inside, it's just $75. And each of them had like 12 decks, right? Which is probably the price of like 1.5 actual commander decks. When it came time to actually compare the cards, theirs were indiscernible from mine until taken out of the sleeve and like really examined. But if you're just playing at a table, these cards are functionally identical to Magic cards because most Commander players don't play in tournaments. They don't play where cards need to be sanctioned and legal. They just play to have fun with their friends. Magic itself is a luxury good, and the higher you get on the totem pole of competitive and powerful formats, the cost of cards increases drastically. However, the price of a proxy is constant, and a fully proxied BRAC 4.5 deck costs significantly less than my Dragonhawk deck of mostly red commons and uncommons, albeit a few expensive pieces like Jessica's Will. That's like $30, which is like half the price of their deck. These friends play more or less in a closed circuit of just themselves and a few other friends, and never go to an LGS. So why should they pay the exorbitant prices Wizards demands for these cards if they're not going to use them? There's obviously the legality of printing these cards, but they're not using them for personal gain. They're not selling them. This reality poses a threat to Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's bottom line. If players just print their own cards, how can Wizards themselves make a profit? As a Wendy's GM, I'll let you know one of Dave Thomas's famous quotes. Rest in power, King. It was that profit is not a dirty word. It's a free market. Businesses are allowed to make money. How else can they pay their employees, the designers of a game that we mostly love, right? A game that brings friends together to geek out and make brews and memes and cool commanders and mean commanders if they want. The money Wizards gets enables all of that and more, but at least it enables them to pay the designers of the game that we like to play. I've been playing 60-card Magic for 10 years consistently and Commander for 7. I want to support Wizards because I like their product, even if that product is being released at a breakneck pace. Those supporting their product and drowning in it are separated by an ever-fraying line. The speed of new sets releasing is not as daunting as the prices. I want to take some time to delve into why prices are increasing. Universes Beyond sets have extra licensing that causes them to go up in price from the get-go, and this is kind of like a tariff where Magic doesn't foot the bill for that. We do. Basically, Wizards, or like the Magic government, is charging money on a foreign thing, the Universes Beyond IP. The tariff goes to the licensing fees, and then they get all the profit still. And if Magic prices weren't already increasing, maybe this is okay, but we're talking like $5 for a regular Magic pack, $10 for Universes Beyond or Premium pack, $30 for regular Collector Booster, and $75 for like a Final Fantasy Collector pack, a single pack. You could have a fancy steak dinner for you and your wife, or girlfriend, or significant other. Or hell, take a buddy to go get a steak, and it's still cheaper than one pack of Universes Beyond Collector Boosters. And that's insane. That's unreal. This is partially caused by the artificial demand because they're kind of like reserve lists where we don't know when they'll print them again because of the overhead prices of like we have to get the licensing fees again. We have to make sure that the customers actually want this product because not all of them are doing well now because Spider-Man kind of flopped. Even the prices of niche commanders and commons and uncommons are going up from Warhammer because no one can access those cards now. Like the supply is fixed and new players are entering the game because of Universes Beyond, which is for Magic in general a good thing, but it's going to increase demand for cards without increasing supply. Increase demand, lower supply, prices go up. I get the price increase, I just don't like it. Universes Beyond, as always, is the center of conversation here as the rising price of these packs help them justify rising prices of other packs. It's kind of like at Wendy's where we have an LTO and it's very similar to an existing product, which lets us then charge more for the existing product because we've got your foot in the door. You'll pay X amount for this. What if you pay 10 cents less for what we usually had? We kind of test the waters to make price increases with our LTOs, but we also bring in new customers. Recently there was an argument about pigs and slop that took over the Magic discourse for a while. And while I do agree with the sentiment, I think that it's more like fast food and like fine dining. Magic is this like filet mignon of card game where it's juicy, the cards hit, you enjoy when you eat it, right? And Universes Beyond is like a fast food LTO. Like, oh, I can't wait to try the new chicken nuggets at Taco Bell. That's new and exciting for Taco Bell. And we have these Universes Beyond sets that are new and exciting for Magic, but imagine if the whole menu was taken over by these LTOs. Instead, you get a bunch of spiders, like Spiderman in every possible conceivable variety, and it's just a mess. Cool for the Spider-Man fans, but only for the Spider-Man fans. Wendy's recently had a crossover with Takis that nobody asked for, and it sucked. And I feel like Spider-Man was to Magic as Takis was for us, where the corporate was so hyped about it, and then it just fell completely flat because they missed the base with their clients. Like, this is not what we wanted. I think Spider-Man would have been fine as a small secret layer type thing where it's like, okay, there's 3 secret layers, all 5 cards, 15 Spider-Man cards. You get your main villains, you get your Spider-Man, you get Miles Morales, you get Peter Parker, you get Gwen Stacy, you get Venom. Like, end of list. Like, you don't need to go into a whole plane of Spider-Man. We live in that plane. It's New York City, right? We don't need to see New York City. We know New York City. And if you live in the Midwest, you've probably been in New York City. If you live on the East Coast, you've definitely been to New York City. If you're playing a game of Magic, you don't want to see New York City. Universes Beyond, they generally charge higher because they're paying a licensing fee, and so the money's not all going to them. Think of this kind of like a tariff where we pay a foreign country to sell their goods and services here. The foreign country gets the tariff, but the citizen eats it. So in this case, we, the client/citizen, are paying tariffs on our Magic cards because of Universes Beyond. And sure, Wizards is making more money. The number is going up, but we're spending more money than they're even earning. Really, the ones who benefit here are Universes Beyond. And these cards, because they are paying licensing fees, have more hoops to jump through to get reprinted a second time. So Universes Beyond especially, I expect to see proxied en masse because I personally don't want to spend extra money on a bad set. Magic for the longest time has been giving us like the filet mignon of card games, the best card game ever made. Recently it's becoming more like fast food where they're just churning out product that's worse.
Indulge me for a second because I really want to make this fast food model work for a comparison to Wizards' business model. So throughput is a metric drive-throughs use to measure success. It is speed by volume and encompasses all the sales they can get at the window. Faster speed taking cars means more cars can enter the line, means more orders can be filled, and more money can turn over. Upselling or increasing prices like Wizards is doing helps maximize the money that can be made per car or customer in WotC's case, and the speed they release new sets in theory increase the amount of times a customer can purchase cards in a given year. However, this does not account for product fatigue, may in turn make them less money because as consumers of Magic, we're exhausted. But on a personal level, how many times could you eat fast food in a week? At a certain point, some of Wizard's sales are competing with others. And I do think they'll have to take their medicine once this 7-set year does fail.
And I don't blame the designers. They're under a time crunch and like corporate threw them a curveball last minute. That sucks. I get it. Adjusting plans last minute usually ends up in failure. It just does. Spider-Man especially didn't need to be a full set. You are squeezing that lemon until it's like absolutely dry. Instead of the filet mignon we're used to, we're getting like a sad little burger. I don't want a sad burger. Even if it's Universes Beyond and it's not like a fully cooked, like delicious steak. Hey, I'm game for a good burger. I work at Wendy's. I would love a juicy double patty, smothered in grease, bacon on top, barbecue drizzling over the corners, crispy onion tanglers nestled in there. If I'm eating a burger, I want a good burger. And this feels a lot like Mondo Burger, where we're paying somebody extra money to pump garbage into our burger that we didn't ask for. And it's a bigger burger. You can sell it for more money, but it's not tastier. And I don't think the slop is fair. I think that these are definitely Magic cards. Someone did work to make these. But at the same time, to compare Spider-Man to like any standalone Magic set, even the characters and hats sets, this falls short. Those sets mechanically still worked, even if flavorfully they were terrible. Very few I would even consider making commanders. That's not to bash on somebody who would use these as a commander. I just am not interested in the cards themselves. And only like 10 of them are unique and cool cards. If you're not hyper immersed in Spider-Man, which most Magic players probably aren't. I'm not saying you can't like these cards. I just think that the majority of Magic players don't. You don't need a survey to figure that out. I'm sure Wizards knows about it in their sales. The survey recently seems almost like a targeted attempt to root out dissent among the masses, which is kind of insane. But maybe that wasn't their intent. It just comes off very sketchy to ask, like, hey, who's telling you bad stuff about us? To fix this problem, Wizards needs a supply-side injection to increase the amount of cards available for players. Demand is going up. They need to increase the supply of available powerful cards. I'm not saying they should change the rarity system where they need to make X amount of dollars in a pack, so if all the packs have hyper rare cards or powerful cards, the packs, you sell like 5 packs per person and you're done. I'm not saying that. I'm saying make the prices of packs cheaper so people buy more packs. Because again, it's still a lottery.
One thing with Wizards is they can only charge what the market will bear, and we're showing them we can bear these price increases. And one hope for this video is to kind of say, like, maybe we shouldn't.
But the more cards that are available and opened, the higher chance valuable cards get released in the wild and the price will go down. A profit maximizing firm wants to keep making products until the marginal revenue equals the marginal cost. This means that when the cost of making a pack is the same amount of money that Wizards gets from the pack and no more, that's when they stop, and not until then. This is very hard to achieve in theory, in like exactness, but you can keep printing more cards to sell. You have shipping costs, so that also incurs a cost for you. But once the LGS agrees to buy the cards from Wizards, it's no longer Wizards' problem. They've sold the cards, they're done. They don't buy back packs from LGSs. It is then the LGS's responsibility to sell those packs. So Wizards, by making better sets that customers want, will make the LGSs predict they need more packs, order more packs, Wizards makes more money, they sell more packs, customers get more cards. Everybody wins. What they need to do is keep printing sets until there's no more demand for them, which we see with sets like Modern Horizons 3 that's still in printing, and those cards keep dropping. But Universes Beyond doesn't have this and really can't have this. Separately, the secret layers are also a problem because they are just released only like, I don't know how many copies it is, 10,000 copies, 1,000 copies. So if you want a secret layer card and miss the window, you're shit out of luck. You're going to pay an insane amount of money for one card. Realistically, the cost of making the next pack for Wizards is next to nothing. So there's no reason they should not stop printing cards if the demand is there. I think a survey would be better served asking like, what sets do you still want us to keep printing as a consumer? And then they just shut down the sets that don't want to be printed anymore. As much as I don't like what Modern Horizons 3 did to the format, if you're a new player in Modern, you need those cards to function for the most part. So that set continues to be printed, it continues to sell. Whereas if Standard changes drastically, I still don't see Spider-Man cards being desirable for Standard. Once this window is over, it even shows in Wizards scheduling where Avatar is right around the corner. Why would printing to demand matter? So in the case of Secret Layers, Wizards is literally throwing away money because people want the cards that are not going sold, and they have the capacity to make them. So they're literally just throwing away money there. It does not make sense. There's no world where you can argue the FOMO and the instant demand is worth more than printing a thing like Sonic to demand or a thing like Jurassic Park to demand. Sure, some players don't like them, but for those that do, you could just take $40 from each of them, and you're no worse off. You've printed X amount of cardboard, you pay shipping on it. Every time you sell one, you make $35. You should do that until you no longer can make $35. In Wizards' case, they're just shutting off at 1,000, or whatever the exact number of secret layers is. That number being lower than demand means that they're literally just denying themselves money. If they print to demand, this could lead to two scenarios. The first would be an increase in supply with demand remaining constant. This means cards are more accessible. They're now not as rare as game pieces, because again, most of their value does come from being game pieces that have intrinsic value in the game of Magic, and the prices can't be as high. Magic won't lose players, and WotC makes more money selling packs. Its existing consumers are happier. The second scenario is arguably even better for Wizards. It's the same as the first scenario, except the higher accessibility and lower costs of cards leads to an increase in demand again, because more players who are priced out of ever entering the game can now afford to build a deck to get their foot in the door, thus becoming additional streams of revenue for Wizards of the Coast. This is the best case scenario. I can't tell you how many times I've been talking to friends like, hey, get into Magic. And they see like the price of one deck, like, hell no, I'm never doing that game. And I can't say they're wrong. Like, it's an expensive game. I get it. Nobody is worse off except the LGS if they overcommit. And as consumers are actually better off. So why, we have to ask ourselves, doesn't Wizards do this? Optimistically, they're trying to protect the LGS, their business partners and boots on the ground, promoting their product, and hosting game nights. Realistically, it's to preserve the value of the cards in the secondary market, because this in turn allows them to justify the rising prices of a pack in the eyes of the consumer, us. If the cards in a pack didn't have high value, the pack itself does not have high value. Nobody would buy packs if the individual value of cards wasn't there. The expected value of having rares and mythics that are desirable and a game piece you can actually sell or trade for profit has to exist so Wizards can sell packs. This is because the price of singles directly correlates with what the public is going to pay for a pack. As the price of singles increase, packs become more desirable, and therefore you can charge more for them, even if at the end of the day it is still cardboard. For this reason, to kind of inject value into packs, WotC often sprinkle chase rares or fancy versions of existing cards, or expensive reprints into sets, often on bonus sheets of increased rarity. This reprint equity adds to the expected value of the average pack, even if these cards are extremely rare in the case of special treatments. They don't overload any given set, because the opportunity cost of using any given card in one set is the chance to release that same card in another set. Generally, money now is better than money later, but they only need so many rares to entice people at a time. Why would they blow their surplus of valuable reprints? Especially given the velocity of spoiler season, often 2 sets or more are available at a time, and overloading the number of reprints in one might decrease sales in another. If I have a significantly higher chance of good cards in a pack from Tarkir than I do from Dustborn, why would I ever buy Dustborn cards? I would just wait until Tarkir comes out. What would stop me from buying exclusively Tarkir and not Dustborn? Most experienced players will tell you simply buying what you need is better than opening packs, but some players still open packs. It happens. People draft. And would you draft a set like Spiderman if it is extra money, but the cards have less value than regular cards? I wouldn't and didn't, and I think a lot of people felt the same. Which just keeps wondering, like, why did it not succeed? Like, the product was worse. If I sell you for $10 a biggie bag that costs $5, the nuggets are cold and the fries are cold, you're looking at me like an alien. But if I sell you a $7 biggie bag and everything is perfect, it's fresh, I didn't just have the stuff sitting, it really has that Wendy's personal touch, you enjoy that biggie bag much more than one that cost double the price and had bad ingredients.
I wouldn't make a biggie bag with a sandwich that I manufacture from random things from 7-Eleven. We make it from high quality ingredients from Wendy's suppliers, as we should.
In general, I think buying packs is unwise, but as someone looking into the game, it's even worse because as prices increase, the rate of power creep also gives cards a significantly lower shelf life than before, further supporting the argument for proxies, as cards you buy that are powerful now may be weak or even unplayable in as little as a few months. So for modern and competitive formats, even buying cards is unwise, but especially for things like Commander, where the cards don't even have to be legal for sanctioned events, why buy those cards if you're going to get rid of them in a month? It's like renting cards, in which case, why not just print paper and throw it out? Commander being the most popular format of the game, I think that most players don't play in formats where cards have to be legal. I'm something of a modern player myself. I'm not here to shame any players who play casually or who play in unsanctioned events. I'm not going to complain about how you spend your hard-earned cash, even though Magic itself is definitely a meat grinder for cash. I also play fast and loose in my wallet and often regret it. I'm really suggesting a more accepting approach to proxies in Magic, particularly Commander, especially in a world where other IP floating around left and right, skyrocketing card prices, and a generally increased cost of living outside of the game, which is again a luxury good in a world where many people cannot afford luxury goods. Wizards and Hasbro are incentivized to continue the status quo. It's been working for years. Under the thumb of their parent company, they've actively been seeking profit over gameplay experience, churning out sets, pushing them through without testing, and committing to as much Universe Beyond as their own IP. So how can you as a consumer impact your business model? For Commander players at least, the answer has already been discussed in this video. Proxies in place of purchase. I was watching one of the most prominent modern YouTubers, Aspiring Spike, and on a stream he said, something which at the time was eye-opening for me. The best time to buy Magic cards is right before you need them for a tournament, and no other time. This is completely true, even for competitive Magic. Cards are very immediately power creep. A powerful card now could be useless in 6 weeks with the speed of new sets. I see my LGS chase rares and mythics of the newest set because the pros recommend them or play them in their videos, and then weeks later they turn around saying the cards are unplayable trash. This cycle is expensive and rewards the behavior we don't want to see at Wizards. If we just buy all the new things, they will keep printing new things, and it will just never end. Proxying won't work for Wizard sanctioned events, and shouldn't, but most Commander players are free to run, more or less, whatever cards they want at a table in the game store, on spell table, or hang out with friends. And don't need their cards to be real. I have always preferred purchasing real cards, though financially this is almost strictly incorrect for casual Commander. There are decks I have built and tested, played a few games, and weeks later changed to Commander. Sure, you keep some of the cards, but a lot of those cards just sold right back to Card Conduit. Not a sponsor, but they're great. Or some decks have sat on my shelf, unused. I built Kefka, the new Kefka, and it was brutal. And I played one game, realized, damn, that sucked for my opponents, never played it again. The deck was powerful, but in a way that was unfun for other players, and the players across the table from you are human beings, turns out. If I had proxied that deck, I saved like 100 and change bucks, because I had most of the cards anyway, but to go from 0 to 100 for that deck would have cost like 800 bucks, and that would have all been wasted if I just scrapped it immediately. I'm not saying you should only proxy decks, or buying cards is bad, but the only way to try and achieve change is talking to wizards. Not sending death threats, but talking to wizards, and not using words, but using our wallets, because our words don't matter. What really matters is what their shareholders say, and their shareholders care about money. They keep rushing through sets and decisions and delaying bans, so mistakes they make often linger over formats. If you want change from a big company, hit them where it hurts. The bottom line. Universes Beyond makes tons of money, but a significant cost to them as well. Not only do they have to pay artists for the art, but they also have to pay massive licensing fees to use intellectual IP of companies that want their cut. If these sets, like Spiderman, flop, then all that extra money you paid to make the set is wasted. You could have just made a regular set. And hopefully, Hasbro will see this. Normally, Wizards makes 50 cents on every dollar of each pack they sell, which is an incredible rate. But then again, they are just cardboard with pictures on it and words. Proxies seem much more appealing as prices skyrocket, so that everyone gets a cut of action with the player. I don't want to turn this into a negative rant about Universes Beyond and Proxies, but suffice to say, I think Magic would have been better if we never went down this rabbit hole. Initially, there weren't going to be premium sets that were standard legal, or even full sets in general, and then even ones outside of high fantasy, but that's not the world we live in. We have Furby, we have Dwight Schrute for some insane reason. Wizards and Hasbro behind them exist to make money. If you will boycott the Universes Beyond sets like Spider-Man in large quantities, which I think players did by accident because the set wasn't impressive, they weren't interested in 60 versions of the same thing, and random real-world nonsense cards, and spend more of their money on Universes Within, WotC will take notice of what's making them more money. Hopefully, they'll see they want Universes Within sets, fully fleshed out worlds like Tarkir, Lorwyn, Duskmourn, Edge of Eternities. These sets were all so good and cohesive, and they were magic. There were some naysayers of Duskmourn. I, in general, like the set. And I admit, even without playing Final Fantasy, I still enjoy drafting Final Fantasy, and the cards from that do see play in my Commander decks. While I think the price was still too high, at least those cards were cool, they were unique, they were flavorful, I guess, for Final Fantasy. I'm not really sure most of the lore, but they look cool. And that's a set that even me as a non-enjoyer of Final Fantasy could enjoy in a Magic set. Whereas this Spider-Man set was just like, if you love Spider-Man, it's okay. And you might build a commander out of it. But for everybody else, it's just like tepid. I do want to do justice to Lorwyn, Eclipse, and even promote actual Magic content. I don't want to just be a naysayer. I want to promote the actual Magic stuff that's exciting for Magic, and not for Hasbro or Lord of the Rings or Disney or CBS. I want to promote Magic content. And so I want to know how you guys want to best digest that. A few meals or a big binge on all the goodies from Lorwyn Eclipsed. Let me know in the comments. As always, stay frosty out there and keep on brewing, but specifically with Magic cards that are from Magic IP, when possible. Keep the magic in Magic.